Alright guys, today we are back with some more MX versus ATV Legends. Today these are a few different national tracks that are in the game that I really liked and thought had crazy good track design and replayability and just really awesome beast mode monstrous motocross tracks is basically what it came down to. So I do want to talk about track design and how well they flow and the environments and all that good stuff. We also do have first person gameplay. We switch back and forth between, third person on this track, which was probably, I don't know if it was my favorite track, but it was one of my favorite tracks, right? So this track, third person, and next track, first person, then third person, first person, third person. And on one of the tracks we do use the KX250. I believe, probably say the name wrong, but Callum, he was asking to see the KX250, specifically that bike. So we do break that bike out and use it on one of the tracks we have to show you. But starting with this track, so this is the desert canyon biome, and this track, it's okay. So they have some main tracks in the game, and there's different variations of that track. So this would be like the full version of the track, but there's different ways to take it where you end up taking sections of the track that you don't take if you take a different variation of the track. This is like I said, pretty much the full version of this track, and it is crazy. It has one specific section on the track that is completely unique to this track, and no other track has anything like it at all. We're coming up to it. We go through this section around the backside, but then we go into the mountain and ride around in basically a cave, right? It's a cave. You'll see it here in a second. But it has this huge double that you can take. You don't have to. It's kind of tough to take it because it's a huge jump. You don't have to hit it as fast as you think you do because the game, I don't know, it's just the way the game is on that specific jump. But we do hit it, but it's so easy to mess it up. You don't really crash. I'm guessing they assumed people would full send that jump, and then, it's so skinny, it's really easy to go off track. And so what you do is you kind of bounce off the side of the cave wall, but it's still a really cool section. That's pretty much a full lap. There's some huge jumps you can throw massive whips off of. This track has insane character to it. Now this track, this was like, I forget the name of the track, but it was like something with send, because you're full sending on this track. And we did it in first person, still on the KX450, and this took forever for me to get. It still isn't perfect. We do mess up a tiny bit, but for the most part, this was a pretty smooth lap, right? We did pretty good. And I'm going to talk about first person a bit because I saw some people asking. Yes, the first person is similar to All Out. All Out, in my opinion, had one of the best first person cams I've seen in a game. Very customizable. This is the same. So I prefer the camera this way. Some people were saying they wanted the camera to point up more. I just like the position of the camera we have. If you want to move it up, you can move it up. You can kind of do whatever you want. This is kind of the max field of view though. Now you will see it on the 250. I did manage, and I'm not really sure how I did it. I did manage to pull the camera back even further when we were using the 250 on that track. It'd be great if I could have that field of view all the time in first person, but this is okay. I kind of got used to it, and it worked out pretty good. And this track, I said it was the toughest track for me probably, but it was the most fun. I love the first person in this game. It's just so good, and I'm glad they kept the same basic camera that they had from All Out. And if you notice, the hands are significantly better in this game. For the most part, they're on the bars the way they should be, where they should be. You know, in All Out, the left hand, mostly the left hand, was always never on the bar. It was like never there. Sometimes you see it a bit here. If you try to whip really hard, the way he moves his arm out and has to turn, the hand will kind of bounce around the grip. But for the most part, it's where it should be. So, yeah, first person is amazing. This track was freaking awesome. It had crazy good flow. Once you figured it out, this track flowed amazing. The design was crazy good. It was pretty rough, but not all the tracks are the same. This track, it got rough. It had some rough spots on it, but it was just the flow. The flow was amazing. Now this track is Overlook. This biome, it starts out at the bottom, and it's green and, you know, normal, but then you scale up the mountain. You do this biome with the trails mode, and the trails start at the bottom of the mountain where it's green, and then it works its way up the mountain, and you start running into the snow, and then it ends. One of the trail races ends at the very top of the mountain. It's like snowing, and then you get like this frost effect on the screen. Well, this track is in that biome. This track has some huge, crazy huge sends. Okay, we talked about it. They have realistic stuff, but then they have the arcade fantasy stuff, and this would kind of apply. Now maybe you could double off that first one. I never could. We barely get it here. It isn't as bad or as difficult as I made it out to be there, but it is tough. That is a huge send. There's a couple other ones, some really big stuff. This design is insane. The thing they got right this time around compared to All Out, I know they did a rework on most of the motocross tracks in All Out, but they never got to where we as a community wanted them to be. These tracks right away, I feel like, are awesome. They are so good. They're pretty rough for the most part. Some tracks, I said already, are rougher than other tracks. This is a really big send too. They have so much elevation, right? There was tracks in All Out that felt basically flat and very smooth. This game, it has tons and tons and tons of elevation. It has rough spots on it. And it has great flow. The way they placed and made the pre-rough spots on the track, it works with the game plays. I talked about the game being a little bit slippery sometimes. Well, the way they made the rough spots, I don't actually notice it anymore because I've played for enough that I just got used to it, and it doesn't really bother me, but they put the rough spots in a realistic way, but in a way that it doesn't really affect you going into like a corner. You know, if it was really, 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 really rough there, you might start to bounce a bit, and then it's a bit slippery, so you might go over the corner. There is roughness, don't get me wrong, but it's done in a really, really good way. I love that most of the tracks have insane elevation. Some tracks, again, have more than other tracks, and some tracks have a more realistic feel to them. Some tracks have more of a fantasy feel. This was a pretty easy track, but it's actually kind of named after one of the tracks from Untamed. I don't remember that track very good. I don't know if this is like kind of a remake, but this is the KX250. This is for you, Callum. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but this is just for you. The first-person camera, you will notice, is a bit farther back. Again, I said earlier in the video, I'm not sure how we did this, but I wish I could have this field of view all the time. I couldn't replicate it. I don't know. It's weird. But this track was a bit easier. The 250 is fun. It's definitely fun. But sometimes on some of those really big jumps that you've seen already, the 250... I'm not saying it can't do it, okay, I'm not. I don't play with the 250 very often, but it was tough. It was really, really tough. Even this track, it was kind of just a wide open, mindless, flowy track. And that's fine, it's fun. We still have some elevation. There is some rough spots on the track, nothing crazy, but the design and the flow are awesome. It's just right, and not every track has to be crazy. You still have the terrain deformation, and that'll probably rough it up. We only did one lap on the track, so we don't have any yet really, but yeah, the 250 on some tracks works great. On other tracks, it might be tough to use, just the way they built the game and scaled the game. And we have one more track to show you, or part of another track. I'm going to start talking about it already. They did bring back Bighorn from All Out. It was a DLC. If you didn't buy the DLC, this is your chance to play it. As far as I can tell, that is the only track that they brought back from a previous game, or more specifically All Out. And this is Big West, but they also have a Big East, and they changed it a bit, but for the most part it's the exact same layout, same track. It's just maybe they changed where some of the braking bumps are, the ruts, the way they are, and adjusted on it to fit the way this game plays a bit better. But yeah, super fun track. These motocross national tracks are absolutely fantastic. I probably enjoy them even more than I do the supercross tracks this time around. Which is weird considering how we felt about All Out, but they did a great job on it. There's a bunch of other ones. I just showed you some of my favorites, but let me know in the comments what you guys think, how you feel about it. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.